What's up guys? Welcome back to my Chicago Pro Prep series. I'm now 6 weeks out, so we're closing in pretty quick here, these final weeks. Lots of changes are happening fast. At the same time, they're not, because I've hit some stall out points. But if you haven't yet, to get caught up, go check out the 8 week out video. It'll get you all up to date on all my nutrition and training and kind of what has been going on. But currently, for this past week, I had some high days, and then I had like 6 days of just the same body weight, nothing changing. And I don't want to get focused on body weight, but I kind of have to be, at least for me, because I have to make 212, so that's an important aspect. At the same time, I look at pictures and there is changes happening about getting tighter at that same weight. But the issue is like, hey, I have to have my weight to go down. And this was even in the face of increasing cardio. So I had high days, I came back, I added in another 15 minutes of cardio, and the weight still didn't come down. And what I noticed over these days is like my fatigue was really building up. And the biggest thing that I've learned on this prep is managing fatigue is huge for preventing stall out, for preventing adaptive response in cardio and in your metabolism. And if you can manage your fatigue best by setting up your program and also giving yourself enough time on prep and allowing for high days, I think that gives you the best setup to prevent the stall outs from happening and get you to that really lean state. Because once you get really lean, if you try to push too hard or too fast, it's not going to happen. You're going to get depleted and not get lean. And so over these past few days, what I had noticed was like sleep quality was going down, digestion was going down, daily energy was poor, performance in the gym was maintaining, and legs were starting to feel very heavy, like concrete heavy. And so all this was adding up is like, man, I'm starting to really, I'm not going to say overtrain, but an overreached fatigue state. And to where cortisol's higher, water retention's higher. You're not seeing the scale change because you're holding on to water, even though I'm in a deficit and fat loss is probably happening. So the course of action of these past couple days was to do 2 high days in a row. And this coincides well with what the literature is showing, is that, you know, spreading a refeed over several days has a greater impact on preventing metabolic adaptation to dieting, raising energy expenditure and decreasing cortisol, and raising leptin levels. And following 2 days of maintenance, you can actually bring up metabolism, suppress cortisol, and you can have that drop in water. And that's exactly what I did. So I took from my 200 gram carb amount, I went to 400 grams of carbs, lowered protein about 70 grams, and did that for 2 days. And I woke up at a new body weight low and looked super tight. And so my legs felt more refreshed, sleep had improved, digestion has improved, and now I can go back. And this week today is what I've actually changed my diet to, as having a little bit more carbs. So I added about 40 grams of carbs into the plan. I kept protein back 40 grams, so calorie wise I'm the same. But once your carbohydrates are going too low, you end up having to take more protein to make glucose to support training. So that's the one thing, like, you can't be scared to lower protein, but if your protein's still so high that it's cutting into your carb amount and affecting gym performance, well, that's when it's the issue, and your protein's no longer that protein sparing. You need to give yourself more carbohydrate energy substrate. So doing so, I think I'll have better fueling and training. And now I can go back to the same calorie amount, and I'll probably do a little bit reduced cardio and still be much more productive than what I was last time, trying to push the fat loss rate along too quickly. So that's where I'm at. If you want to see the full diet, check it out below. I'm going to head now, and we're going to do some leg training. And I've done quite a few things in my training to try to mitigate some of give them as much stimulus as possible, but as little fatigue as possible, so I'm not just digging a big hole today and not able to recover well and have it cut into my cardio and everything. So we'll get in this session and we'll go over what changes we're making here. So getting into today's leg session, there's a few things just starting off what I wanted to change programming wise, because going through prep, and like I was talking about earlier in the video, you're having to manage fatigue as much as possible, but still provide the same stimulus to hold on to muscle tissue. So going into a lower body session I've had quad emphasis and a hamstring emphasis, and the quad emphasis day just buries me in a hole. And it's like a hard quad movement to a hard quad movement to a hard quad movement. And I was looking at these sessions thinking like, man, I'm just repeating the same thing over and over. And if I hit it hard, like say I hit my hack squats and then I go to leg press, like my hack squats take it out of me so bad that my leg press performance drops way down. Then I go into a lunge of some sort and that performance is way down. And then my quads are wrecked for cardio, and this is becoming this less and less productive. So it didn't make sense to have my volume spread out that way. And then because my other lower body day is a hamstring emphasis day, then I have a bunch of hamstring work and no quad work. So my thought is like, well, let me take this same volume and work and just distribute it differently. So today I did start with hack squat, but the general setup was going to be hit my quad movement, my big quad movement, which is hack squat, then go into a glute hamstring movement, and then that doesn't have all the axial loading like a type of squat would. It's not as fatiguing. Then go back into my leg press movement, which is single leg, unilateral, to help with my strength imbalance in my legs. And those are going to be my compound moves. So I pulled out the dumbbell split squat I normally would do, because I'm already doing a type of squat, and I moved that to my hamstring day, which does have some hamstring and glute work in it, but also I'll get more quad stimulus on that day, but overall recovery will be better. So starting out with a hack squat, I'm getting my biggest bang for the buck move first. And I'll have, working up to a hard set of 8 to 10 reps, slow control. That's what I want y'all to really see on these reps, is that every rep is the same speed down, and then exploding up. And the concentric phase will slow down, but the eccentric phase is always the same rep speed. And that's really important for safety, but also staying connected with the muscle too. And you can hit all the reps, but if that reps aren't directing tension within the muscle you're intending, then you're kind of losing some of the point to it. So it hit my first work set, then I backed off in weight and hit a little bit higher rep set, something above 10 reps, and that was it for the movement. I went on from there to my barbell hip thrust. So having a little bit of glute this day, which normally I'm not getting a ton, and set these up to where I kept a band looped around, because it's just helped me build a very strong connection with my glutes. So if you're doing a movement and you're not feeling that muscle work, rethink what you're doing. It's the point, there is a point to having a connection with your muscle. Some movements, you're just like a squat, like you're going to use your quads even if you're feeling them not work or not. But some of these movements you do need to make a connection with, because it's easy on a glute bridge for your spinal erectors to take over or your hamstrings to take over. So for me, using like a band loop around my hips and pushing out, having that external rotation definitely gets a lot more glute into it, and I'm using a lot less load because I'm directing tension where it needs to be. So in these I worked up to 405, and I hit a set of 11 on my first set, and about borderline failure. I probably could have got another one, but it would have been an ugly rep. So I'm basically reaching technical failure, not absolute failure on these. So I'm hitting the final rep before my form would probably break. And I stayed with that same weight and did 2 more sets. And my reps kind of dropped off, of course, from the subsequent fatigue from the previous set. So I think I went 11 reps, then 8 reps, then 6 reps on that final set. From there, I moved back over to my single leg press, which is what I've been keeping in place because my left leg is a little weaker than my right leg, and at least with the pendulum leg press, it's a smart move to do for unilateral, because the counterbalancing isn't going to be a limitation like it would with like a lunge or trying to do some type of single leg squat. So you can really go all out on it. And so I start my left leg, I do 1 warm-up set, and then jump into my working set from there. I hit a set of 12 and what I want to say, like, it was 20 pounds heavier than my last workout. And on my last workout, I actually did the leg press first. So this just goes to show you, like, moving exercises around and managing your fatigue and your exercise setup can be huge for making your sessions more productive. So I'm now using more weight for the same reps than I was able to previously. And then I move to my right leg and I just hit the same reps. So I don't want to go past what my left leg can do. I'm trying to even them out. And over these weeks, I've seen them become more even. I could maybe have done 1 more rep with my right leg, but so that's really close. But before, I could have probably done 4 or 5 more reps with my right leg. I stayed with the same weight again and did 1 more set. Reps dropped down. I believe I had 8-9 reps on the second set and matched it with my right leg. So that was all my compound moves. From there, I moved on to doing some isolation work. And isolation work, just went all out on those. I did a superset of leg extension into abduction machine, and just did 2 sets, slow, controlled, but hitting a failure point. And then I do have a little extra isolation work for hamstrings. I do a standing leg curl, individual unilateral. And again, I start with my left leg because that's been my weaker leg. Trying to hit 12 to 15 reps, hit a failure point, and match it with my right leg and do 2 sets on there. Then moving on, went to calves. And so for calves, every calf workout I've been doing rest pause on because it gives me a really good goal to hit. And sometimes I have found that my calf work just gets thrown on and I won't check my logbook, and I'm just, I hit some failure points, which is important, but I'm not progressing in weight or reps just because I'm just tired by the end of a leg day. And I just kind of, like, some of those movements you have that you get thrown on, like movements that are muscle groups that are strong for you, like sometimes biceps, like I have biceps is a stronger body part for me. I'll just hit some failure sets and won't really track anything. I think on some of these muscle groups that's okay to do. If you can build a strong connection, you're making a lot of metabolic stress versus trying to always beat the logbook and everything. But for calves, it's been important on prep for me to have this goal. So I'll do rest pause. I'll do either donkey calf raise or a Smith machine standing calf raise, and try to hit a failure point between 10 to 12 reps on the first set. Rest 20 seconds, go to failure. Rest 20 seconds and go to failure again. The execution is huge here. So I'll go down about a 3-second eccentric and do a 5-second pause in the bottom position before exploding up into the concentric phase. And it's brutally hard, and it'll accumulate a lot of metabolic stress, but you can also get a lot of good loading out of it. And so I'm just trying to beat my total reps for that rest pause set. So I count that as 3 sets within 1. Then I moved to a seated calf raise. I just did 2 straight sets, but I supersetted it with anterior tibialis raise, which just training all parts of the calf, the front and the back. Hit 12 to 15 reps on my first set of seated leg calf raise, and I wanted to keep the reps a little higher, so I dropped down in weight and just Went to failure again, but I think it hit like 12 reps on that last set, and then went back to the anterior tibialis raise and went to failure again. On those, I keep the reps higher just to keep a strong connection. It's a little muscle. It also has a lot more slow twitch muscle fiber to it, so it's not something you're going to load really heavy. So I'm hitting like 15 plus reps on the tibialis raise. If you don't have a tibialis raise, you can always attach a band across the top of your foot and then have it kind of like drape down and attach onto you. I used to use a step-up box, like a little jump box, like a 12-inch platform. I'd sit, I'd put the platform in front of me, I'd put my heel on the edge, and I have that band looping over my top of my toes down and attaching to the bottom of the box, and I could do some band raises that way, just if you don't have access to something like that. That wrapped up my lower body day, and overall the session was great. I had really good strength improvements actually. I didn't feel like death at the end, which for some people that's like the goal, but on prep I think that is just a stupid way to train and dig yourself in a hole like that. And it's training hard but training smart, and there's a whole balance to it. And trust me, I've been there where I want to like make sure I feel like I'm crawling out of the gym, but on prep you will stall yourself out if you build up that much fatigue, and you have your legs heavy as concrete, and you end up not being able to sleep, and you won't get super lean training like that. So, big thing from this takeaway, I hope you learn about exercise order, spreading your volume out over days, and moving exercises around so where you don't have a string of the same movements. Add your movements to some different days, and try to manage your fatigue, but give the greatest stimulus possible when you're training. Anyway, guys, this is 6 weeks out. Please let me know if you have any questions below. I'll be happy to answer them for you, or let me know if something else y'all want to see me do while I'm on prep or have a question. All right, guys, we'll talk to you next time.